slow down, PA. Won't you slow down, PA? 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 Won't you slow down, PA?
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is our very first live stream on YouTube. Been doing a lot of live streaming on Twitch, but I'm focused on YouTube for the company stuff. So thank you all for being here. This is going to be fun. We are actually going to be talking about a couple of different projects, mostly Nagging Wrights. Just telling you what that project is, why we're doing it first, how you can support that sort of thing. And then, of course, talking about further down the line as well. But yeah, we're going to be having a little bit of fun today. Just want to get right into it. So let's get right into it. So let me know if you have any issues hearing me or anything like that, or if I'm too loud, or if the music is too loud or anything like that. Feel free to leave a comment in the chats. So, and if I talk too fast, it just means I'm getting really excited about stuff. And so feel free to, slow me down and you'd be like, hey, Ty, what are you doing, man? I don't understand what you're saying. Hit me up in the comments and let me know. But today is all about Nagging Wrights. So what is this project? So Nagging Wrights is a drama disguised as a comedy seen through the eyes of Lacey Wright as she navigates her 30-something midlife crisis. So what exactly does that mean? Why do we care about Lacey? Why do we care about her midlife crisis? All of that type of stuff. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever gotten to a point in your own life where you're like, okay, I've been doing X, Y, and Z, whatever for the longest time, and things aren't going exactly like I thought they would be by this point. And I need to shift, but I have no idea what to shift into, because if I stop what I'm doing, I have no idea what to replace it with. But if I don't shift what I'm doing, I'm going to be miserable because I hate what I'm doing. That's kind of where Lacey is right now. And then on top of that, all of that type of turmoil, she has a bunch of personal turmoil in the sense of having to deal with the loss of her husband, Michael. And we'll get into that in a second. And so this is a project that's been inspired by true events. So, for example, one of the scenarios that Lacey finds herself in is she actually gets caught in the car. She gets trapped in the car. Let me see if I can find that slide. Yeah, right here. So she gets trapped in the car. And can you believe this is actually a true story? So a little context about that. My mother, bless her heart, this is a million years ago. So she got caught in her own car. And she was like, her battery had died on the car. And so she thought that she wasn't able to unlock the car because the battery had died. And so she's freaking out, stuck in the middle of the road. And then, all these cars are passing by her and whatnot. And finally the cop comes and he's like, that the battery isn't tied to the car. I mean, yeah, the locks aren't tied to the battery, right? You can just press the button. And so she's like, oh, and she presses the button and she can get out. But she was trapped there for like a good hour and some change before she realized she could get out of the car. And so it's silly stuff like that that happens in the story with Lacey. But the thing about it is that all of these silly stories, all of these like funny moments, they are a cover for what she's actually feeling and what she's trying to hide. And I think that's super important because, like I mentioned, let me scroll back up to the top here. We're seeing it's a drama disguised as a comedy. And so a lot of times Lacey will use her comedy, use these funny moments to hide what she's truly feeling and trying to, skirt your attention away from what she really should be focusing on because she doesn't want to deal with it. So let's talk about the overall picture. I'm just going to read what's on the screen here and we can talk about it in real time. But Nagging Wrights follows Lacey Wright as she steps out into the world for the first time in a year. So she had been trapped, or not really trapped, but she's been reclusive for the past year. Whatever happened a year ago caused her to just want to be by herself, not dealing with anybody, right? But after that year has gone by, she finally reconnects with her friend Kim, and she's navigating the chaos of her husband Michael's sudden departure. And so, though she's happy to have her friend back, Kim can tell Lacey's not being truthful about much of anything. In fact, she quickly realizes that this is more than just Michael leaving the way that he did. Why lie though? That's the question. Why would she lie to her best friend? Why is she lying to everybody else? And if Lacey would lie to Kim, why wouldn't she lie to everybody else, including herself? So what's really going on with her? So those are all great questions. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the chat because Lacey is very much an enigma. She doesn't want to tell all the different things that are happening with her. And you can see that she refuses to answer those questions directly. Instead, she focuses on what she can actually control. As Lacey tells her story, it's obvious she's genuine. She has a genuinely big heart and she'll go out of her way to make people feel loved. But it's obvious also that she's embellishing a lot of things. And so she's not the most trustworthy narrator. And so you have to really be, really focus in on all those little clues that she's leaving because she's not as good of a liar as she thinks that she is, right? And so one of the things that she does is she embellishes the story to make herself look and feel better, which is something that we all do, because sometimes the lie is a little bit better than the truth. So those are all things that she really, I'm talking loud, aren't I? Let me turn this down a little bit. I don't mean to yell in your ear. How's that? All right, cool. That should be better. I'm not bouncing in the red anymore. But yeah, no, this is something that Lacey does where she will embellish the story. She'll be like a magician, being like, hey, look over here. I don't want you to look at what I'm doing right over here because that's the stuff I don't want to deal with. That's the trauma. That's the craziness that, I've been avoiding for the past year. So this music's a little loud. Let me turn this down some. There we go. All right, cool. So during that time, or as she gets back into the world, she goes to talk to a therapist because mental health is a really big part of this story. Her own mental health, how she's dealing with stuff. And so he asks her all these questions. Those are all the things that he tells her in terms of like people lie to make themselves feel better because that feels better than the truth sometimes. But the question about Dr. Sullivan is, what type of therapy does he specialize in? Of course, Lacey doesn't tell us, and he never actually outright says this is the kind of therapy that I specialize in, but the clues are there. You can see it right there in yellow. The clues are there if you know where to look. And he definitely does. And so really pay attention to Dr. Sullivan when he picks up on something, especially if you haven't when you're watching. But I think it's kind of obvious. And we've done it in a way that is hopefully not obvious. But again, if you know what to look for, it's beyond obvious. So anybody that works as a therapist can be like, yeah, I can see what they're doing. But right now, the key is to get her talking. And so that's what she does. Whenever she's talking about a happy memory, she's a chatterbox, motor mouth. And so you can see them here. This is Lacey over here on the right, and then Michael on the left. So Lacey talks about everything, but ultimately it's just a cover for her actual reality, the thing that she doesn't want to tell. All of those things that have, again, caused her to be reclusive for the past year, she doesn't want to tell it, but everything is pushing her in that direction. Because one, she knows that she needs to in order to overcome it, but also she can only hide for so long. She can only lie to herself for so long. And so as Dr. Sullivan listens to her story, he recognizes a recurring theme. She's the embodiment of chaos, especially without the calm presence, in this case, Michael, to balance her out. And so we're really playing with that chaos and calm theme, and light in the darkness kind of theme as well. And again, we'll get into all of those different thematic type of things. And so while most everybody feels sorry for Lacey, her friend Kim, Michael's brother Jabari, some of her other friends, her work friends and that sort of thing, Michael's mother, Paulette, actually blames Lacey for this sudden disappearance and also her current situation. And with their relationship already strained for a variety of reasons over the years, this Michael leaving was the final nail in the coffin for their relationship. So they don't have a good relationship. And one of the things that was really important was to have somebody that was on the opposite side of Lacey, because everybody, especially us watching it, is like, oh, we feel bad for her because of what she's going through. But of course, there's going to be somebody that's not going to like it. There's always the hater, right? And so what does that relationship look like? How does that affect her growth and her progress and that sort of thing? But the main question, though, is where is Michael throughout all of this? Because again, that's something that she's definitely hiding and she doesn't want to get into. So, yeah, that's the question she doesn't want to answer. She dances around the question until she's forced to come to the reality of the situation, one that she's known all along, and we're just getting to watch her get to the point where she's open enough to tell it to us. So that's basically it in a nutshell. This is an episodic series, and so we have 13 episodes planned, or 13 episodes written actually, not just planned. And you can see a couple of frame grabs. This is from the original pilot that we did a few years back in 2019, I think, if I remember correctly. And we released it. We had a couple of really good responses on our on our Instagram channel, actually my own personal Instagram channel, and also on TikTok. And so that was kind of the vindication that we needed to warrant doing the full thing. But you can kind of get an idea of these shots and whatnot. So who is this project for? So first and foremost, Nagging Wrights is a half-hour-long comedy drama for premium cable or streaming. It's an episodic coming of the next age story, actually. Think I Love Lucy meets The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And so this series is geared to adults of all ages. People that have gone through stuff in their relationships, the ones that have a dream and haven't quite achieved it yet, or somebody that's experienced grief in some way. These are all things that Lacey is currently going through in her journey. But we wanted to connect it with somebody that is resilient, the one that keep fighting despite the challenges, the ones that keep dreaming despite what reality says, and the ones that know when enough is enough and it's time to shift. I mentioned that earlier, right? So just to give you a broad overview, speaking of those resilient ones, did you know that over 51 million adults struggle with mental health issues? Like I mentioned, mental health is a big part of this series, because again, Lacey is dealing with a lot of things, not just the loss of her husband in terms of he left and we don't know where he is, but also, she's an entrepreneur and her business isn't going well. I don't know how many of you out there know what it's like to have a dream and a goal, and then do everything that everybody is telling you to do, and then it doesn't happen the way that it's supposed to, especially after so many years. In her case, it's been like 10 or 20 years. So you would think, okay, at a certain point, you got to let that go and move on to something else, because if it's not working by then, it's not going to. So we're looking for people that, understand what that feeling is like, not just the people going through it, but also the ones that are along the ride with them. So in this case, Lacey's husband, Michael, as her spouse, as her husband, he understands the struggle, but also he understands how that is affecting, him and their relationship, because there are certain things that they can't do in case, let's just say, money is a problem, because it really is. As an entrepreneur, there's never enough money. But he understands, okay, this is affecting the household in a negative way. So how can I support my wife, but also keep the household afloat? Those are kind of people that would understand that relationship dynamic, right? But not just that. You can see that for entrepreneurs. This is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's a tongue twister if I ever heard one. But a lot of businesses fail in the first 2 years, and it gets worse as the years go on. And then according to the Bureau, only 1.6 of Americans make their primary living as artists. So Lacey is also a creative entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur, but also a creative one. And so you can kind of see some of the similarities between her and myself, but it's not just me. There are a bunch of entrepreneurs, and I think that's one of the reasons why I resonated with the story so much, because I could see myself a lot in these characters, not just Lacey, but some of the other ones that I mentioned, between Michael, Paulette, and other people that are in the story that I didn't mention yet. And so, yeah, it's definitely a lot of people that can really connect with these themes and stories that we have going on in this project. So the story arc is laid out over 3 seasons. We're only focusing on the first season for this conversation. Season 1 is all about denial and depression. Why is she lying to herself? Why is she depressed? Why did she, hide out for the past year? What's going on with that? And the whole point is to get her to actually tell what's going on with her and why she's doing the things that she's doing, and why she's kind of stuck in time so much, so to speak. So, and then once we get past the first season and everything goes well, people are willing to watch it and whatnot, we'll get into season 2 and season 3. But again, for our focus for this conversation is all season 1. So that's really it in a nutshell in terms of the broad overview of the story. If you have any questions about it so far, any questions about Lacey, any questions about the overall arc of the season, drop a comment in the chat box and I'll answer it in real time. But for now, we're going to keep going. So here are some references to the story that we're using to tell the story. So first, How I Met Your Mother is a good reference because it's all about Ted's POV and flashback storytelling. Because Lacey is telling the story basically to her therapist, we're going to get a lot of flashbacks going back to certain times, certain key moments in her life, in her journey that got us to this point. And the thing that I liked about How I Met Your Mother is that it was a comedy, it was very much a comedy until it needed a drama. So they did that really well, and it just dropped it on you, and it wasn't it was so unexpected when they dropped the drama on you, but it was so perfectly timed that I was like, yep, that's a note in my back pocket, because I love how they did that. And then I Love Lucy is another good reference, just because of the dynamic between the husband and wife. Lacey is very much like Lucy. You can hear the reference there, Lacey and Lucy. But she's very much the wild and zany one to the calm and analytical one that Michael is. And so you can see that dynamic, just the opposites attract kind of idea, right? And then Martin, I like it because, one, you got the Gina and Pam relationship. Kim and Lacey are very much that kind of relationship where it's, one, they're kind of helping each other get through their stuff, but also when it comes to the shenanigans, they always try and one up each other, and so it gets to the point where it's a little bit, wacky and whatnot, and you can see their genuine love for each other, but also they just try and have a lot of fun, and so I love that. But also, they did social commentary very well. It wasn't like super in your face. It was just, this is the character and that's how he is, and he was able to say stuff based off of his character versus trying to tell a message or something like that. And so Jabari, who is Michael's brother, is very much along those lines. He's not trying to preach a message by any means, but he does have a very unique perspective. And there are some people that will relate to that and connect to that. But also, the whole goal with Jabari is to make people think a little bit differently than they typically would on their own. And so that's the thing that I love about that. And then lastly, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I love the fact that Will is kind of a fish out of water. He's trying to find his place in this new world. And so he had to grow a lot because he wanted to hold on to who he was, but that wasn't going to work with him being out in Bel-Air and being a part of his family. And in a lot of ways, Lacey is that way as well. She's trying to find a new version of herself, and she doesn't know what that is and what that looks like, but she has encouragement from the environment that she's in to help her go along that journey. And so you can see some visual references just in terms of the look of the show and the tone of it. Insecure is a good reference. I like the color palette. I like the soft lighting on these two women, and I think that it does a great job of the cinematography of it as well. It has the show itself has nothing to do with the way Insecure is. Same with Woke and Bel-Air. These are more literally just visual references because the story arc is a lot different. That's why I showed you these references before. And then if you're interested, I can drop the music playlist, just the music references that I'm using for the story as well into the chat. Let me know if you want to see that or you want to hear that. But so that's getting into the what. That's all the what. The why. Why are we doing this story as opposed to some of the other ones? So this is very long, so I'll leave it up here so you can read it on your own. But basically, for me, like I said, the main important thing was I can connect with a lot of the characters in this show. The ones that are the creative entrepreneurs that aren't quite where they want to be, but yet they are working jobs that they just really don't care about, or they are suffocating in those jobs because they're just not what they're supposed to be doing at that time, right? They're just doing it for the money. How many of us can relate to that moment, right? Just doing it for the money. So I relate to people, I relate to Lacey in that way. Because I've definitely done projects that I just, I don't connect with, but I'm just doing it because it's a paycheck, right? But beyond all that, some of the resilience that it takes to be able to do the things that we do in this space, I know that's something that I can relate to. I look at my mother, I look at some of the other entrepreneurs in my family, I look at, my wife even, because she's had her own personal struggles as well. And, just overcoming those setbacks, overcoming the highs and lows of life, and just getting to where you feel you got to reinvent yourself. I can definitely relate to that. But I also, again, relate to that resilience, the one that has gone through something traumatic, something really bad that could really, for lack of a better word, decapitate somebody and really, get them to overcome that and get to the next version of themselves. You kind of have to go through those downs in order to get to the highs, right? And so I absolutely connect with that. Let's see. My wife, this is Natalie. So she is one of the producers on this project. She's the main producer. And I think what she said here is really poignant. So right here, all of those stories work because, and she's talking about Martin, Fresh Prince, some of the older ones that I mentioned in the story references. Those series work because they're not just funny, but they have iconic moments that are ingrained in our memories because it's something that we've experienced and it meant something to us. It taught us something and in some ways helped us grow. That's what a good story does. And so that's what she wants to do with this project. She wants to be able to tell a story that people can connect with on various levels, especially if you are happily married, happily single, or happily divorced, or just plain old miserable, somewhere in between, there's a nugget in here for you. And then lastly, our writer, Portia, She chose to write for Nagging Wrights because it's a unique blend of comedy and drama. She can relate to the characters and scenarios that resonate with the viewers, making them laugh, cry, fuss at the characters through the screen, and reflect on their own lives. And she was immediately drawn to Lacey's character because she understands the complexities of that character and what it takes to really peel those complexities back. And again, obviously, I'm being super vague in terms of what those complexities are and what are the various scenarios in the story, because I want you to watch it. But really, that's the broad overview of what's happening in this series, and especially in the first season as we get the ball rolling. So that's the why. I really want to, make something that is where'd it go? It's kind of a love letter, is what I said. Yeah, this is very much a catharsis for people, and this is very much a love letter for anybody that's gone through what Lacey has, and some of the other characters as well. We see you. We know that it's hard. We know that it's challenging, but it's going to work out. That for me is the main point of this story. And then, of course, again, that it's inspired by true events. We can really play with some of the the scenarios that are going on there. So what actually do we need? So you can see here, the budget is set at $375,000, which is honestly one of the bigger budgets that we've worked with for our own productions. I've worked on, multi-million-dollar projects and all that kind of thing, but internally in the company, this will be the biggest one that we have. And I mention that just because it seems like a scary number, but it really isn't. Because one, we found an investor for $370,000 of it. We just need the additional $5,000, and so we're so close to getting the full budget, which is phenomenal because this has been a long time coming, like literal years. Like I told you, we filmed the original pilot back in 2019, and here it is 2024 when I'm recording this, and we're still pushing to get this created. And so this is honestly the biggest reason why it's always taken so long to do the projects, just because of the budgets that we need. But of course, what does that cover? Let me bring up the budget really quick. I wasn't prepared for that, but this is all live. So let's sign in, and then I can show you the numbers. And we're gonna skip this track because I don't know what this is. Bubble sex. Let's skip that. Okay. So you can see the breakdown here. I'm not going to go into all the different things, but this is the crew that we're going to be working with. We got a line producer, AD, PC, PA, DP, 1AC, 2AC, all of the above, production designer. These are all the people that we need to be able to tell this story at the professional level that we work at. And so all of these people cost money, plain and simple. So that's where the bulk of the cost is going. You can see the $159 just for the shooting crew. And again, I mention that just so that you get an idea of where the money is going and everything like that. So, but again, for you guys, everybody watching the video now, I don't like this song. It doesn't quite work. All right, let's chill it out. We're getting a little too hype. But yeah, this 5K, really, that's just the investor that we're working with basically said that he believes in us, he believes in the project, he believes in all of the above. The only thing that's missing is the belief in the audience. And so what he really wants to see is if people are willing to support this financially, not just a like on Instagram or a like on TikTok or whatever, or even just a comment, right? He wants to see that people are willing to invest a part of their money. And so that's where you guys come in. I mentioned that in the last video. It won't take much between let's just do the math. Like everybody that's subscribed to the channel, I appreciate you guys, but that's literally like less than $2 from each of you. If we could get that from each of you, that would be fantastic. And so what we did is we created a Kickstarter for that. It hasn't been approved yet, so maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now, but I don't ever wait for anything. That's my problem. But let's see. Let's log in. And you can see some of the perks that we're going to be, really. I got to find the password. Give me 2 seconds, gangs. Sorry about that. I wasn't quite ready for this. Because again, we're live. And this was not part of the presentation. But it's all good. We'll make it happen. All right, there is my password. Let's enter this in. Oops. Crap. Messed it up. All right, almost there. Bear with me. All right, cool. Let's log in, save it. Perfect. Yep, save that. Okay. Got it. All right, so let's take a look at the rewards. So here are the different tiers that we're offering. So the $5 level gets you a shout out in the credits. $10 gets you a digital photo from the set, a BTS photo if you're interested in that. $25, ask me anything while we're on set, which is, what is this? Get out of here. Messed up my whole presentation. All right, $25, ask me anything while we're on set, which is phenomenal because, you know, especially if you're interested in filming in the, what do you call it, the behind the scenes of the making of it, you can ask me how we put stuff together. $50 will give you full digital access to the entire series once it's done. And then lastly, $100 will get you a BTS video walkthrough. And so those are limited. We only have 20 of those because, again, we have to actually film stuff. So we can't spend all the time answering these phone calls. But it will be a live video call where we can walk through. You can talk to anybody on set, whether it's, you know, you're interested in sound. You can talk to the sound operator. You're interested in lighting or a camera. You can talk to camera department. You're interested in the directing or, you know, anything else. You can talk to me. So those are all the different tiers that we have. And so that'll give you an idea. I'll drop a link to this video once the campaign is approved. But yeah, that's really it. Let me go back to my presentation. And then as far as distribution goes, so we're going to start with our own platform. We're going to create an OTT platform. We actually started this already, but there's nothing on it because we just need more content to be, again, transparent with you. But we're going to start with the OTT platform, just get some analytics there. Once we get a good business case, as far as people are willing to watch it or, you know, pay money to see it, that sort of thing, we can present it to some of the bigger platforms like Hulu, Peacock, and Apple TV Plus. Those are the ones that we're really going after. And of course, it's a big jump from this to this, just because as a production company, we're not running in these circles yet. And that's the reason why we're starting with this OTT platform. Just again, so we can present a business case, because it's not enough just to get 1 million views on YouTube. That's phenomenal, and I appreciate everybody that would watch it in that million. But if we don't have anybody that is willing to pay for that series, then there's less of a weight of somebody saying, oh yeah, if I give you money, we're going to get it back. And so that's the whole point. If we have an investor, and so we have to find a way to monetize it pretty much immediately. And this is one of the ways that we're talking about doing it. Obviously, we need to market it and all the other pieces, and that's, you know, something else that we're going to talk about in another video. But that's the plan. That's the overall plan. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions, again, drop it in the comments. Let me know. And then for those that don't know anything about me and Lighthawk Studios, the company, we are an independent production company specializing in original feature films, episodic series, and you can think of us as Hollywood's best kept secret. You know, it's the biggest thing, because we've done a lot of stuff on everybody else's project. All the people that we would bring on as far as the crew, myself, producers, and all of them, we've all worked on, you know, a lot of the different movies that you've seen or the commercials that you've seen out there. But now it's time for us to focus on our own projects. That's what we're doing this year, for the rest of this year and beyond, right? So, you know, our mission is to entice imaginations of our audience by creating relatable, compelling characters that exist in fantastical worlds. They're grounded in biblical, historical, mythological, and paradoxical themes, and we want to focus our attention on creating exhilarating action, dramatic, and emotional storytelling that spark the imagination of our audience. Everybody has an imagination, right? And we want to ignite that, and that's the mission behind every single project that we do. So you can find out more about me by going to my website. Let me bring that up. thatdirectorty.com. Let's go. Yep, there I am. And so you can check out my reel. You can see who I am, you know, a little bit of background. I am an award-winning film and a TV director. I actually have a short film that's in the festival circuit right now that just got accepted to like its 6th or 7th festival. So that's pretty cool. And it's won a bunch already. So I say that not just to, you know, brag a little bit. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just letting you know that there's a foundation of experience, you know, between me and the rest of my team. We can definitely get this done. But yeah, that's really it. I don't want to drag this video out any longer. If you have any questions, let me know.